Alright, hello and welcome to my fourth tutorial video in C++. Today I will be covering inheritance. So, in the last video, we talked about functions, and we talked about classes and how they're created, and we also touched on header files and what they're used for. So if you don't know what a header, if you don't know what a header file is, please go back and watch those videos so you can be caught up, because you won't understand what's going on if you don't know what a header file is. Alright, for those of you who do, let's dive into this. Okay, so I've created a car class, and it has these variables, and they're protected, you may notice, that I've declared them to be protected. Now, the reason I've declared them to be protected is because when I have my child class, which is the class that is inheriting from the base class in this case being car, when I have my child class inherit, I need it to be protected because, one, I want to preserve encapsulation so that no one can mess with these variables unless they are a child or a friend of this class. We'll talk about friends in later tutorials, but as for now, we'll just stick with the child. So only the children of the car class have access to these variables. Well, the car class does as well, obviously. Public, everybody's got access so long as you can make a car object. All right, and now let's talk about what I did to show inheritance. So actually, let's talk a little bit about inheritance before we get into the actual code. So you can think about inheritance like this. So we have our car class, and our car class is going to be the base class. Now I went ahead and I created a sports car class. All right, and that sports car class is a child of car because a sports car is a type of car. Differences being that, it's built for speed. It's built to go fast, like Ricky Bobby. So, with that being said, this sports car class that I'm creating here is going to inherit all of these variables and functions because it is a child of the base class car. Now let me show you how you define that. So you have to create your header file first for sports car. You should know how to do this from watching the last video. Create a header file, call it sports car, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want the child class to be called, and include car.h, because if you don't include car.h and you try to inherit from car, the compiler is going to have no idea where car exists. So you have to show it where it exists by saying include car.h, which is the interface of the car class. Now, we're in the interface right now. We're in the interface of the sports car class. So the sports car class is a child of car. Now this is how you declare it. You say class sports car colon public car. Now the reason you say public car and not just car is because if you just say car, it won't be able to access any of the protected or public variables. It's very weird. I don't know the exact specifics on it, but it basically considers them private if you don't declare this part, if you don't declare public here. So make sure you do that. So doing this, what this does is this basically, as you can see, I haven't defined any of these variables or any of these functions in this class or in this header file interface. And that's because I inherit all of those variables and functions when I make sports car a child of car. Now I've added something to differentiate sports car and car. I've added a string top speed, because sports cars go fast, right? So they gotta have a top speed. So I declared a function to get the top speed, and I also declared the constructor as you can see, the constructor looks very similar to the constructor of the car class. The only difference being that I need max speed. This is an extra thing that sports car has and that car does not. That's what differentiates them. Now, with that being said, we go into where we define sports car functions, and yeah. So we have to include sportscar.h. You don't have to include car.h. You just include sportscar.h because it already includes car.h. So including sportscar.h also includes car.h. So this is the constructor for sports car. You can see it looks a little lengthy, right? The reason it looks so lengthy is because when you do inheritance, you also have to create an object for the base class. So what I did was I just plugged in, the parameters like I defined them in the header file. And then I said semicolon, do this, which means also do this for car, the base class, using serial number, which is right there, model, which is there, manufacturer, which is there, price, which is there, and color, which is there. Now you don't have to define what their types are because the compiler already knows what they are when it reads this. Now you notice the difference. I didn't include max speed. That's because the car constructor does not take a max speed parameter. That's what differentiates sports car from car. Remember that. Sorry, where was I? Yes. So yeah, I did not include max speed, but it is here because, well, sports car needs max speed. And I basically just did what I did in the car.cpp. I just set the serial number equal to serial number, model to model, manufacturer, yada, yada, yada. And I do the extra, the top speed, the difference between sports car and car. I say top speed is equal to max speed. And then I define the function get top speed. Now, let's go into the driver and I'll talk about how, or why rather, inheritance is so cool. So what I have here is I've got my int_freeze terminal. If you've watched my past videos, you know I use this to keep the terminal window open. And then I've also defined, or I've also instantiated, or not instantiated, I've also declared a sports car object. So this sports car object is called Aston Martin, and I just filled in the parameters as specified by the sports car interface. Serial number, model, I believe, manufacturer, price, color, and top speed. Now, here's what's cool. Let me talk about these functions real quick. So I'm just using these functions, print to terminal, to just more cleanly print to the terminal, I guess. I mean, you don't really have to do this, but I like doing it just because it looks cleaner. And for me, it's easier to read. Now, you'll notice that these two are the same. They have the same name, and they return the same type. Now, you must be wondering, how is that possible? That I can have these two and the Visual Studio does not freak out and say, what the hell are you doing, man? You have two of the same functions. Now, the reason is because there's this thing called overloading, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm overloading this function because I needed to adjust the functionality for when I encounter the double price. Although I gave it as an int, so I'll do that. When I encounter the double price. So when I encounter the double price, so this is how the compiler reads it. So I'm passing in right here. Let's talk about this function. I'm printing to terminal. I'm calling print to terminal on Aston Martin.getPrice. Now, it's really cool because car or get price is a car function, which was inherited by sports car. So I'm calling that get price, and I'm passing it into the print to terminal function. Now, what the compiler does is it figures out, based off of the type of this, which is a double, it figures out which one of the functions, the overloaded functions, to use. It says, oh, this one takes a double, so let's use this one. So that's just overloading function basics. All you have to do is they can have the same name, they can return the same type, but they need different parameters. So the cool part about inheritance is my sports car object has access to all of these car functions. And I didn't even need to define them. And it also has access to its own function, get top speed. And I'll show you. Print to terminal, get color. This is from the base car class. Matte black, manufacturer Aston, model DB9, just like we put it in. It rounds it up because it's dumb. Serial number 5555 and get top speed. So yeah, that's the cool part about inheritance, is that the child class gets all of the functionality that is either protected or public. It takes all protected and public functionality and functions and variables from the base class and inherits them. So it doesn't have to redefine them. But you can redefine those functions. Okay? Actually, I won't even get into this. This is way out of scope for now. But I did talk about inheritance, and that caps up this video. Thanks for watching, guys.